I wanted to delve into your summit and beyond, the mountain leader stuff, the the hiking stuff and the stuff you do with people. I wanted to talk a little bit about what do you enjoy about it the most, and also a little bit about the stuff you've done in the past in regards to running this program, to do in the NHS, how that came about, and like what did they think they were hoping to achieve through that.
Yeah. Okay. So it started with the NHS.
Yeah.
So I left
the Summit and Beyond started through that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually called the Summit Project. But after I left the army, I felt like, the feeling, like this urge I needed to do something more. So I went out to South Africa, and
I have that urge every day.
Yeah. And I out there, I didn't do the conventional thing of going and staying in a gated village with a volunteer group and then go out and do the project. I just went and lived in a township, and I just learned how to get on as a South African while I was there. And I worked in a hospice, and obviously voluntary. But while I was out there, I had this urge to, like, I really wanted to, because I was experiencing people dying of AIDS like every day, and I was like, it's the young people, it's education. If these young people had a better education about drugs, about the ARVs, about how to live healthy, they would have a better chance of surviving. But my time there was obviously short-lived, and then I came home. And when I came home, I was like, I realised my eyes were open, and I could see that actually we need education in this country too. So I went to uni and started studying youth and community work so that I could get into youth work and educate young people how to support them to live healthy. And while I was doing that, obviously I'd already started my outdoors qualifications. I was going for my mountain leader assessment. I was already qualified to do indoor climbing sessions. I think it was like my third year in uni, I got this freelance gig at Huddersfield Climbing Wall. And I went along, and it was a group from the NHS, and they were funded by creative minds to do this climbing session. And I just randomly got put on this climbing session, and since I'd got back from South Africa and been studying at uni, I'd written out this, I suppose it was like an idea, an approach to a climbing session that could take somebody from being anxious, I suppose, and or not educated about something, and then through using the climbing and being outside in the mountains, the communications, the trust that we need when you've got a leader or you've got somebody belaying you climbing, all these different aspects, all these skills that we learn as climbers and mountaineers, I started using those and then adapting it and evolving it into this session that could help mental health. And then I just landed this freelance. It just happened. I just landed this freelance session, and the NHS, the service users that came in were all living with early stage psychosis. So they were like fresh out of hospital. A lot of them had been sectioned and they were on medication. And to cut a long story short, the climbing wall and the support workers had a massive fallout. Yeah. And they were like, we're going to leave, we're not coming back. And in that moment, I sort of went, can I run your climbing session for you? I've got this proposal. Yeah. And I gave them my idea, and they took it to Creative Minds. And the next thing, it was like 3 months later, I got a letter through the post, and it was like, we'd like to take you up on your offer. We've got this much funding. Let's go. And I was like, oh, it's happening. Yeah. So I got funded a load of money, and I ran a course. And the proposal was that I would take into, like, it was a big proposal, but the essence of it was I will take somebody out of hospital with early stage psychosis, out, like they'll come out of hospital to my session. I will start instructing them, and then by the end of the 3-year period, they will be a fully qualified climbing instructor.
Yeah.
And then they can take on that session as a volunteer or make it sustainable.
Yeah. How long did that go on for from the point they came to you? Were they with you for like quite a while?
3 years.
So quite a long time. So
yeah, 3 years, and it was amazing, man. Like, I didn't know what I was actually doing. I kind of did, but I was just on the fly, like making these therapies up as I went, and I just saw people like. I mean, using the outdoors as a foundation is an amazing thing. So I saw one guy. He was, when he came into the climbing session for the first time, he wore a hat that covered his eyes. He wore a big jacket with a fur thing around here. You could barely see him. He wouldn't speak. He was a big lad. And he wouldn't go very high on the wall. And then we started getting him out into the mountains, and we did a weekend in North Wales, and I took them out and I did this sensory game with them where I cover their eyes up or the ears. So half of the group have their eyes covered and half the group have their ears covered. And then I get them to write. Obviously, the guys with their eyes, they can lift the blindfold up to write. So I got them to sit for like 10 minutes and just write down what they could see or hear. And this guy was just seeing, so he had his ears and he had this thing down. And then we put the pieces of paper together and I packed them and we just carried on through the day. We found somewhere really nice to sit. And then I said to them, does anybody fancy reading out the thing that they wrote earlier? And he put his hand up. So we were all like, oh, this guy never speaks. Like, He speaks. He says hello. He says goodbye. He sometimes gets a bit confused. His psychosis kicks in and he gets a bit anxious and
anxious. He doesn't speak with much intention, really. Usually. Yeah.
Anyway, he took his piece of paper and he read it out, and I swear to God, it was like poetry. It was amazing, and we were all really emotional after it. His support worker was in tears, absolutely phenomenal, and it just kind of hit me that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I want to. But the thing that I didn't do was think forward about how I was going to keep this going as a business. So after the 3rd year of funding, we got to the end of that season, the end of that year, one of the guys took over. We became fully qualified, and he took over voluntary. I essentially made myself redundant.
Right.
And then
so you were teaching them to be climbing instructors, and then they were like, "Oh, we don't need you, Ben, anymore."
Yeah. So and then I was like, idiot. I did get offered. Creative Minds did offer me a massive thing. They offered me, so I was doing Calderdale. They offered me Kirklees and Barnsley, which is massive. And I basically didn't have the experience or the guts, I think, to go, yeah, I'll do that. So I backed away from it. And that project, we won an award. We won the NHS Award of Excellence for it. But that project was called the Summit Project. So I remember it clearly. I was in the shower when I lived in Todmorden, and I was thinking, what's next? I was like racking my brains, what's next? And I was thinking about the Summit Project, and then I was like, well, it's got to be Summit and beyond, doesn't it? Like, it's not just about going up. Yeah, it's not just about going up the mountains. It's about mental health. It's about living it's about constantly working to achieve that lifestyle that you see yourself living.
Yeah.